All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Irrational Confidence Podcast. We're talking college football, and we are having our second ever interview, an interview that we have been looking forward to for months on end. We've been working on this one. We are so excited to bring you this person. Fresh, I'm like a kid at Christmas right now. Like I know it's about ready to come on stage here with us. I've been waiting for this. I've written my list to Santa. I'm so excited to bring our guest on here. Before we introduce him, what are your feelings before we bring in our guest?
I mean, I'm excited. This is something that we've all kind of been looking forward to, and really just getting a, a chance to embrace something that we all really have known and we love, college football and video games. This is a great combination, and you definitely have been like the kid sleeping under the Christmas tree for like the entire month of December, waiting for Christmas Eve and Santa to come. I'm not going to hold you back anymore, Haps, and I'm going to let you get ahead and start off this great evening, this great interview.
So, joining our show for the first time, he is a writer and designer for EA Sports and is working on the game we're all waiting for, NCAA football, coming back after a 10-year hiatus. I'm joined by Chris Davis. How you doing, Chris?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Doing good, Chris. Great to have you on, man. This is awesome.
Glad to be here.
So, Chris, talk to us a little bit here before we even start and going like through working for EA Sports. Did you play NCAA football as a kid? Was this like a game that you went to?
Yeah, I mean, I played. It wasn't at the top of, my radar. Really because my favorite titles were more so earlier. I played 2005, played some of the um, just older models of the game, and I kind of stuck more so to like Madden and 2K, and basketball was my first love. And then NCAA 2014 kind of came around, and it became a game that my friends, we became obsessed with. Even to this day, I have friends that mod, playbooks, and go and will play with the 125th team, and just ramp them up, make them unstoppable. So it became a love, kind of like progressive.
So, correct me if I'm wrong. You're a graduate from UCF. Graduate.
Yes.
You're a Knight right there. Before we even go on to this, you got a prediction for the Golden Knights this year?
Well, first of all, they would probably throw trash cans at you for calling them the Golden Knights.
Oh, really?
That's one of the biggest issues with just like the grander audience, the grander people kind of out there. Golden Knights is a name they retired like in the earlier halves of the 2000s, and they just were just Knights. And it's not just it's literally everybody. It's a
I love
great like
Chris right off the bat. I like this.
yeah, it's it's just how it is. So when I hear Golden Knights, I immediately like it's almost like a sliver of judgment, like a little bit, but but everybody gets it. So, but as for UCF, I mean, I like the direction they're in. Gus Malzahn had a really great, smooth transition from Hypo. When you look at like just the transition and everything, when you look at the fact that they lost their quarterback Dylan Gabriel like 4 or 5 games into the season and still managed to win. I believe they won 9 games this season. And you look at his recruiting trail, they're top 40 in recruiting. This season, I'd say outside of Houston, Cincinnati, right there. They're in that mix. They have one of the best running tandems in the conference. In fact, they're going to be moving on to the Big 12. They have a lot of good prospects coming in. Everything about them, the aura around that team, is definitely pointing up.
Awesome. So, you're coming out of college and you wind up interviewing with EA Sports. Did you know that this was the position you were interviewing for? Did you know that you were going to be working on NCAA football, or was it like a general job description that you were going to have?
Um, I wish my path to this opportunity was that straight and narrow.
Oh,
I
wow.
graduated in 2018.
Okay.
All my life I've been involved with sports. I went to UCF and I was broadcast journalism first. Then I switched to just print. Graduated with a journalism degree. I was writing for the every single school publication that UCF had covering basketball and football. And eventually I started working. My biggest kind of like opportunity, first one was I started working for the Associated Press. And I was covering UCF from them. But it wasn't my main thing, and I still needed kind of something. So then I went into teaching. My mom did. I started teaching at a at-risk high school here in Orlando, Aloma High School. And it was great. I did that, and I would go to work, and then I would leave work, and I would go cover games. That's what I was doing. But then it kind of came to a point. I got married last year in November, and I just felt it was closing in on time to transition. Like I have so many other things I can do. I have so many other abilities. Like I'm writing a book right now. There's just so many other things I can do, and I decided that I went on Google and I Googled like content writer jobs. Mind you, I actually applied for EA straight out of college and I got like a rejection email. It wasn't for it was just like a EA like job or something like that. I got a rejection email pretty quick. But I was a search content writer. I think it was like Glassdoor or something. And I just happened to see electronic arts. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Um, mind you, I have a lot of people in the industry and doing different things, but like I've never been one of those people to like push and be like, oh, I just want to be in this place because everybody else is in this place. And so I just was patient, and I saw the listing on there, and the listing literally was like something out of a dream. It was like, we want somebody who can you know, do more than just the days of just John Madden, coming across and, saying what's going on in the game are gone. We want, creative, aspect to talking, speaking to commentary, um, would be in your Madden titles, college football, golf, whatever. It wasn't even specifically college football, it just had all these different things in it. And it was like, just talking about like all the details in it. I was like, man, like when I was younger, I don't know if this is part of what my mom, may have told you or not, when I was younger and I was playing those games, like I was talking, I was commentating on what was going on in the game. I was, people were playing with Barbie and Ken dolls. This was my Barbie and Ken dolls. I would literally put myself like, breaking down what's going on. And they're like, what, are you talking to yourself? That's what I did. So when I saw this, I was like, yo, that's me. And so
Right there
then
with, right there with it.
so I applied, and then literally 2 days later, a recruiter emailed me, and I was like, he was like, yeah, we're like interested or something like that, and that's really what got this process kind of jumped off.
So do you still? I've heard that there are stat books of seasons upon seasons of statistics that you kept as a kid.
Yeah, it's okay. So
And so tell me about the stat book.
I did some crazy stuff. Like, so again, basketball was my first love. In 2004, I'm from Detroit. Pistons won. That was a whirlwind for me. And I was playing NBA Live 2003 at the time. Okay, so this is the Jason Kidd cover. And if you know anything about then, I didn't play online or anything like that at that time. But we were switching over to 2004. So I hate playing with not up to date rosters. Like hate it. Okay. So back then, I'm like 10 or something like that. I had notepads. I would go onto NBA.com and I would take down every single team, the players on the team, all that, and then I would go back on to live and I would make sure. And if the player, let's say, was drafted or they didn't create that player because that player wasn't prominent at the time, because he was undrafted. I would create the player to accuracy, and I would put him in the game, and then I would do it. And then it started to branch. And it started to branch because I then started making make-believe basketball leagues based on players. So I created names for a 30-team league. I created team names. I created the stats connected to them and the narratives connected to those teams as well. And I literally manifested like this entire like universe with narratives of players. And I literally would go outside. I had a little orange basketball, and I would act like I am playing as them. This sounds crazy, but this was me, 10-year-old me. I would go outside, and we had the the little Wilson, like the little Wilson basketball hoops are like they're probably like 4 feet for like little kids, right?
Yeah.
When I was in Detroit in the summertime, I took my grandparents had giant like cinder blocks. I would stack that on top of the cinder blocks to where it's like tall, but not too tall to where I couldn't dunk it or something like that. And I would do that, and I would act like I am doing my narrative though, and I would play this through. And it was the great. And then when I'm inside, I didn't have that. So the thing that used to drive my mom crazy is I used to ball up socks, white socks, and act like I'm shooting the socks and doing the same thing. I was always in that space. So that was kind of like the beginning of like that, and then it just transitioned once I started playing video games. I started doing the same thing. That's why I became obsessed with the career modes.
That's
I'll
awesome.
totally relate to that. Yes, my parents walk around the house with a football since I was like 6 years old. Same thing.
Yeah, man. It's great.
But kind of building off of that, since there are so many teams involved in this, in college football, when you're building out this game, is there one developer, one writer for a team, or is it by conference? Like, how is that broken even out? That's just a lot of information and detail to keep, wrapped up and organized.
It's a big team, but a smaller team. The you have EA offices all across like the world. Like we got people overseas, we got people here, and they all do different roles. And at least from my experience here, Orlando is like the hub, at least for college football. Like a lot of the people that I work with that are like directly like involved are here in Orlando. And everybody has like their own role. Like, we meet, go over, whatever the tasks are at hand. And, EA is a very unique place because it's just like we brainstorm and then we break into our own worlds and go and do what you're here to do, and then you come back together and, you run up against something, you pull on other people, but it's an empowering place to tackle a lot of stuff. And, it's one of those environments that, it wouldn't work unless it was the way it is, because it is. It's a Herculean task in a sense, and so you need those people to really be punching in, the effort of what would be maybe 3 people, because it is. Making a game is a lot of work.
Yeah, I can believe so. I mean, I can just imagine 30, 40 people, 50 people all sort of taking elements and then blending them all together through, think tank sessions. And that's quite the task.
Yeah, for sure.
So when you get on this job here, and what was just take me through like your initial reaction? Like all of a sudden they tell you, guys, you're working on NCAA football. What's that moment like? Because I don't know about for you, but for especially for me, NCAA football was the game that I routinely bought every single year. It was more than Madden to me. I was huge into college football. I'm also love NBA Live and I like 2K a lot too. But every single one of the NCAAs was something I bought. And then when it went away in 2013, it was like, man, that just sucks. What was that? Talk me through like you guys are getting to bring back this iconic video game that the world is waiting for.
I knew pretty quickly that if I got the job, that's what you would be doing. I think the weight of what that was something that I was prepared for. Like I was more so like excited to like be a part of, and I was just kind of like, yo, if this is how things work, it's just meant to be. And I think even more for like my friends, who knew I was kind of going through the process, they were like, you get this thing, because even more than me, like I think my friends are even more obsessed with college football just in general. And so a lot of times I found myself kind of like lean on them, like, what do you think about this? Or what do you think about that? Just because I know it's a different point of view that it's coming from it, but it's nothing like writing or a game of this magnitude. Right now, we're climbing the mountain, but I think it's gonna feel exhilarating to get to the top and be able to say, "Man, like so much went into this. I was here, at this point, and now we're here." And just to finally get there would be like, wow. And I think that's the thing that I'm looking forward to most. Just being a part of something that is this big.
So have you had that wow moment while you're working on this? Like I'm just going to use an example here. You walk in and you're going through the writing steps and designing the game, and then all of a sudden you are sitting down with Kirk Herbstreit and Lee Corso and all those guys who've done college game day for years, and you're getting to talk football with them. Have you had like, and that's just an example right there, but have you had like a wow moment where you're just like, oh my good, like this is incredible?
It's EA, so you know it's I had I had wow moments the minute I stepped in the building. Um, you know, I don't know if you've been or even seen the offices, but the offices itself are literally like jaw dropping. They're like it's
Really?
beautiful in there. Like there's murals, it got a little kitchen, it's a beautiful place. Um, and I think like just kind of like being in there in that atmosphere, you're just kind of like taken aback, just like off rip. So I've been saying, wow, it doesn't matter what it is. I've been saying like, oh my gosh, like this is crazy. You know, for me, um, I'm just kind of like looking forward to like more of like the opportunities that we have with this game, more of the things that I think like as we go in the process that kind of like unfold for you to be able to kind of like step into and do. Because I think for me, at least for me, I can't speak for what everybody else's wow is or with other people or how they impact, but for me it's being able to tackle the next like big project or like because I'm a guy that's like, okay, I want to do all of this, and then I may be told like we can't do that, but I'll push for it. Just to be, I think that it's kind of like being able to be in the room where you can actually say something that could impact it. That is the thing. That is an ability that I think isn't spoken of as much in these kind of situations. It's the ability to be in the room. Because many times you may look at something just like you watch a movie and you're like, oh man, why did they do that way? Man, if I could do it over, you know, but now you're in there with the director, the producer, and you're like, hey, like, what about this? And you can feel like your voice is heard, or you can feel like I can make an imprint on this that could, sway it. It's a responsibility. And to me, when I got in there and I saw how much what I said or what I did could do something, to me, that was my wow. I was like, and so every day I'm like sitting there like, all right, you have a responsibility and you have to make sure and ensure that you're on top of it because everybody around you working is sensational, and they're excellent at what they do, and you just want to glean off of them. Like I've just been trying to be a sponge from everyone, like every single person there because they're all like incredible people.
So part of building off that item is there's so many elements that have brand awareness that are involved in this game or involved in any kind of game. Whether it's Grand Theft Auto, you have different car types, but in this game, you have different school brands. You have the company logos that are on there for the merchandise and for the gear. Do you have are there liaisons that are involved in this process to ensure that that integrity is still met? Like it's kind of like a blend where you have to kind of work with them to make sure they get the thumbs up on their representation.
Yeah, I mean, like I think with anything you have the gymnastics, that goes on with that. That doesn't really involve me as much, but it's the alignment and stuff is one of those things that you just have to deal with and kind of see, okay, what can or what can't you, or what can or can't you, because I think with this, it's college football. It's college football at the end of the day. So most people who are going to be playing this are like, okay, how close are we to like authenticity, or like, how do I, and I think that's the beauty of this of college is unique. Everything about college is unique. Sounds are unique. The uniforms are unique. Rules are slightly unique when you deal with that. And when you have a hiatus of this long, and you talk about the fact that you got college football playoffs inserted into it, and you have different there's different, when you look at college football, there's like the things have changed, like as far as like something as simple as like an award trophy or things like that. So there's a lot of bells and whistles overall that you have to just like align together and try to get as close to what's real as possible. So that's the thing that everybody has that on their mind, and trying to figure out like, okay, how do we get it right? How do we put things in the right spot?
I mean, it's kind of like stadiums, probably another example of that where they're all just so unique. People are college football fans in general freak out about the look of their stadium. Have you had other teams that
Mhm.
go out to these stadiums and sort of have to walk around, sort of get a visual to get a better, artistic approach to designing that and replicating it?
I don't know about if they've done that or not to this point. The stadiums itself are another like big major part of it. You have to think about like 2014 has a lot of database as far as like how things look, but a lot of things have changed. A lot of that has changed. But when you look at the game itself, like that's stuff that has to be altered, upgraded, updated, and put into place. Like I think when you play the game, it's going to be what you expect as far as college football. I think that's the thing that you'll see once it's ready to fire.
That's awesome.
That's really interesting that you said that because I think the kind of the question that all of us as fans were wondering was, did you kind of have to work from a blank slate? And you just mentioned there, like going off of 2014. Is that talk to me a little bit just about that? Is maybe not going into it, but was there enough in 2014 that you guys were able to, I don't want to say roll over, but like you weren't starting from a blank slate. Like you weren't starting from I have to redo everything. But I also know that there's a challenge with video game systems moving to the next gen consoles. So what was that whole process like? Like when you guys started that, were you able to use from 2014 at all, or was it like we can use this as a reference, but not really into the full game?
We're still like in that, you're in the midst of it right there, right? Every day it's you got to understand. Again, it's been a big break,
Mhm.
and so you're just looking at everything. You're like, okay, like assess everything. Nothing's off the table, because there are so many. If you think about it, like other games have gone in order to this point and haven't had a break, and have evolved.
Mhm.
So, when you were looking at old NCAA, well, it was evolving and then it stopped. So now with this break, you have to figure out, okay, how do we get it back to evolving? How do we get this thing to look to maintain the things you love about NCAA 14, but then also be current for 2022. You know, be current for today. Because today is different than yesterday. So, this is an important time. Right now, figuring out, okay, how do we get things up to date? That's a constant thing. And pulling from whatever you can as a resource is essential to completing that process.
That's incredible. It's absolutely like mind blowing to me, like what you guys have had to undertake. And I know that a lot of people in the public were expecting. I think when we first heard about it, we were all expecting it to be out this past summer, and anyone with two brain cells would be like, do you guys realize what this team has got to do to develop this game, that it's absolutely impossible for them to get to that point and to make it to the level that the fans will expect it to be.
Yeah, because it's like it's an unhatched egg. So, you gotta let it hatch.
What's been the biggest challenge for you? Like, so you've talked to all about, like, this is a great opportunity. It's a huge opportunity. There's got to have been some bumps or things where you kind of have a little bit of frustration. And what's been the most challenging piece for you during this whole process?
I'd say for me, writing for a football game is different. You're sitting there, and when you're writing scripts and things for college football, it takes a lot of thought as to embodying the voice of college football. And when you're in a game, or you're watching a game rather, there's a voice that matches up. And for me, a lot of what I've done is study, and so for me, it's like my way of, like, okay, method acting through this thing, because that's the challenge. It's like, okay, like making sure that this sounds right, like, this is exactly what you would expect, from this game, and so for me, like, I hit the ground running. I was writing after my first week, and from there, that version of me to this one has been a tremendous change. Because I've learned a lot, and I've improved as a writer, because I've had to figure out the nuances of writing, commentary, or writing something that speaks more to the larger scale of college football. And that can be challenging, because you're doing it all the time, and you're trying to give a fresh face, a fresh, look, a nice stroke over something that everybody knows. So it's own give and take, but it's something that I think, like, every day I'm improving.
Well, that's a lot of pressure, man. You're basically what you're describing. That's the soul of not just the video game, but the soul of college football. You're trying to put out, um, and make it really just hit home with everybody. That's awesome.
So we know we have you had any experience with NIL? I know that that's the number one thing that's being talked about in college athletics these days is name, image, and likeness. Talk me through, has that come across your desk at all, or is that something that it's someone else is dealing with that, or how's that whole process going?
Yeah, NIL is definitely, like, that's a different group of people that would deal with that. But I mean, it's major for college football. It's putting a lot of kids in positions to make money. So, like, it is essentially part of what kind of greenlit the ability to do college football, in a sense. So there's a lot of a lot of exchanging hands as far as like, hey, you have these different hurdles and you have to figure out how that works. I don't know how they're going to work that per se, but it's something that's here to stay essentially for college football. And so, again, like I said, like 2014 was one version of the game. We have to now update it to what that means today. And, you figure out what you can figure out on those terms and then, kind of work from there. That's part of the video game process that's difficult, and that you have to figure out. And I'm glad I don't have to be the one to be in there and do that or work through whatever that is. But like I said, everybody does a sensational job as far as like doing their part, pulling their own weight, and they do it at a high level, and it just comes together like a puzzle at the end of the day.
Yeah, is a complicated thing on multiple levels for everybody. It's a lot easier to put a guy's picture on a billboard on a highway and it's like, yeah, there he is. But putting him into a video game with his right height, weight, some guys can get offended. No, I'm not 248 pounds. I'm 220. You got him. There's gonna be some differences there. But I say, yeah, I can see that be very complicated. Kind of bumping along with that. Looking at part of the game and part of college athletics in general is like the fight song or traditions. How is that written into the game? Like, where do you reach out to them and have them say, "Hey, you give us the recording. What do you want?" Like, how does that? If you, from whatever you can tell us, how does that go about being brought into creation?
I'm not sure what the balancing act is with it. You have to think that if you're the SID, if you're the everybody involved with the university, you're gonna want to be a part of it because on multiple levels, it does a lot for your university. You just think about like the mere fact that if you have the cover athlete, he's wearing your colors. That's one phase of it. One team out of 133, you're the one that has that, or the fact that you are represented in a game that is beloved by millions. So, it's one of those things where I'm not sure like how the go goes with that because that's like a behind the scenes or like double walls. But to me, if it's me and I'm in that position, I'm like whatever you need, and let the cards kind of fall where they may.
Yeah, man, that's probably the way. And for those of you out there in the world, don't SID means it's Sports Information Director. So they're the guys who are in the suits walking all the players and coaches around after the game or up to the interviews. But it's kind of a brand awareness where you want as much exposure as possible, whether it's through, not like we brought up NIL for the players, universities and college football playoff. They're still going to get cash out of this. They're still going to be very involved because their image is also being, you know, used. So it's everybody's hands are in the pot, and you have to make sure you cover all the different aspects. And I don't really see anybody turning down any kind of that notoriety or exposure or opportunity to be involved.
So you made reference here. You're writing a book right now. Talk to us a little bit about so you're not only writing the most anticipated game of 2023, and we're talking 2022, and I'm counting down the days where I can buy this. And I do have one other question I do need to ask you. I own a PlayStation 4. Do I need to start scavenging for a PlayStation 5, or is my PlayStation 4 gonna be okay? Because I need to
I don't
start
know.
hunting now.
You should have been hunting yesterday because
Oh
I'm
shoot.
team Xbox over here, so I can't tell you.
Okay. So if I can't find the PS5, just got to go to the newest Xbox.
Hey, that's what I have. I have an Xbox Series X, so they better be able to work on that.
Okay, so that's what I'm moving. Listen, if I can't find that
Gotta get
PS5,
over to Microsoft.
I listen. I don't care. I will listen. This game is so big to me that I I I will change systems. I'm not a brand loyalty person on that one. But I will change systems to play this game. But talk to us a little bit about the book you're writing because I was fascinated by that because you're doing you're so busy with EA Sports and you're doing all of this really really cool stuff, and then like nonchalantly you just drop like, yeah, and I'm writing a book too in my free time.
Yeah, the book has been kind of like, my baby for a little bit. It's a different gear. It's sci-fi fantasy. It's north of 400 pages. It's in the
Whoa.
final. I'm on the final chapter now. But that's probably like the biggest thing of my life that a lot of people don't know about. I haven't really said a whole lot to anyone outside of my family about it. But it's gonna be something. I've been working on that. I was working on that well before anything to do here. I've been doing that, working on that kind of like for the last 3 years. So yeah, that's the baby right there.
So when you talk sci-fi fantasy, are we talking like along the lines of Star Wars? Are we more like Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings type thing? Like, talk to us. Where would you classify this book?
It's kind of like, see, this is where you have to prepare your elevator pitches properly. But essentially, it's like an alien invasion, but think the people that are invading are 10 to 20 feet tall,
Wow.
and they have superhuman abilities. They are bounty hunters, and they are there to desecrate a planet in search of a mythical key that will free them from the curse that binds them to their planet. And the entire story kind of follows what that search is, and obviously the repercussions of having an invasion in a planet that is also dying and is warping in front of them. And so you deal with multiple dimensions, multiple realms, combat, space, all that. It's kind of like wrapped into one with the story. So, and that's like probably the most diet way I could kind of put it. Because we'd probably be here for a while if I was breaking down
I'm a,
how the framework of this really looks.
all I picture right there was like predators, all being like 20 feet tall, bounty hunters, and kind of like a Pirates of the Caribbean thing where they have to find all the gold pieces to get back to like being full life and not being cursed. Like I got the whole blend going on right there. I totally dig it.
Yeah, they're gruesome. It's a gruesome. The book is gruesome in nature, but it's there's a lot of reward in it. I'm really that's probably the most exciting thing for me. That's the thing that makes me do backflips. But yeah, like that, it's gonna be great.
That sounded pretty awesome. Looking forward to it.
That's awesome, man. Like, it's really cool to see that you're branching out as like almost like a true renaissance man. Like, just in just the 40 minutes we've been talking to you, you've given us that for a couple of years you were teaching, you're writing a sci-fi fantasy book, and working on the most sought after game of 2023. Like, just think about the information you gave us in a 40-minute interview here is just incredible. And it's really, really cool to see that, this isn't just your life. I think a lot of times when people just hear about this, that it's something so big, that they get kind of blinders on, and that they're only looking like, oh, then you must be only about this, and you must only be about football, and you only must like sports. And it's really cool to see that you do so many different things out there.
Yeah, like I said, like I wear a lot of different hats. Like I love anime. I am a super duper duper anime fan. I love Marvel. I love DC. I have lots of comics. I read a lot. So this football and sports is just literally one of the hats. So I look at life and everything about it as, hey, put on the hat that you need to, achieve what it is you need to do for that day. And so that's really all I'm doing right now is I have the hat on for college football. We're getting that done, and then when it's time to do my book, I put on that hat that done. So that's kind of the mantra these days.
And let's not congratulate you on getting married back in last November. Adding everything.
Oh yeah, thanks. Yeah, we're coming up on a year. So.
So DC. So you have to pick one: DC or Marvel.
Well, that's the hardest question of the night right there.
I think subject matter. I think DC is better.
My man.
Obviously,
My man.
obviously, like Marvel's done a far better job as far as building their cinematic universe and having content that's cohesive. When you look at the last probably 15 years. But DC, I think the part that makes people really upset and incensed is that you have such a great base of subject matter and depth and it's darker, but you can't seem to put that onto a screen. And in today's age, that's what's key, getting things onto the screen, streaming, so hopefully with the 10-year plan that they have together, that they put people who actually read the comics and put them in positions of power to where they can put together a team that puts that to fruition. Because honestly, Gal Gadot, even Ezra Miller, when he was off, even though he's off the rails, Ben Affleck, who's Superman, Henry Cavill, great castings, Jason Momoa, great castings, but the films have to match what you put, who you put in the suit. So if they can figure that out, it's gonna be up. So I'm still Team DC when it comes to the stories.
Yeah, Chris, I knew I liked you for a reason, man. All right, so this is going to lead me to a couple more questions. You know that, right?
Shoot.
Best Batman.
Oh, are we talking just from the movies? Or are you talking like all time?
All time. You can go Adam West if you want to throw Adam West in there.
I'm not gonna do that. I narrow it down really to 3, and they're different types.
Okay.
You have Christian Bale's, which he's going to get a lot of notoriety because of Dark Knight and what he did there. Some people don't really care for him, especially these days. It's kind of shifted. The pendulum shifted a bit on him. Then you have a lot of people love Ben Affleck, okay, because he represents the older Batman, which people kind of go away from that. They think oh, he's just this, young, da da da. But he's the that older. He represents it pretty well. People say Michael Keaton and all that stuff, but I just feel like I've seen Ben Affleck a little bit more, so I like him there. And then the third one might be a shocker, but Robert Pattinson.
Okay.
Destroyed it. He was perfect because that film, his film was a point of view film, and so people kind of miss that because there's some lines in there that bro, why would you say that? But it's a point of view film from Batman before he was aligned with Bruce Wayne. So he was more so about just vengeance and returning that, getting those guys back. And so you saw that was a more gruesome and violent and incomplete version of Batman. Whereas we see the polished Batman time. We see the two sides really well, the two worlds. So to see that, to me, those are the best 3. And so for me, I think the one that kind of gets closest to that, outside of kind of my honorable mention, which is Val Kilmer, I thought he was excellent in his.
Wow.
Excellent. I was like, man, he was smooth in the night. It's he could have got any lady he wanted. I think the second best, probably from him, as far as just being able to go between, would be probably Christian Bale. So I think that's who I kind of give it to the nod because he does both probably better than the other 2.
I just watched The Big Bang Theory where they have Adam West and they rank all the Batman. That just brings it full circle. I love it.
So without Batman, you gotta ask then. All right, what's your best Joker?
It's still Heath Ledger by a good mile.
Okay, so
Joaquin Phoenix was good.
I feel like I'm the only one who likes Jared Leto.
Well, he's more so new age and wonky. He reminds me of the Batman, of the Jokers that were in Batman Beyond, the newer age kind of version of it. And I don't think people A lot of like people like really lean towards that version of Joker. Heath Ledger's was just perfection as far as like that's Joker. He did it. I think by far it's one of the biggest gaps I think for a character that we might have.
Yeah, Jack Nicholson. Jack Nicholson. He was more of the kind of like the comic kind of version back in the original.
Yeah,
Heath just took it to the core.
yeah, he did.
See, and it's great that you bring up that as an analogy because I know we talk about growing up. I grew up coming home from elementary school and middle school watching Batman, the animated series as a kid, and
Yeah, same.
I loved that show when I was a kid, and
It came on like right after or before Johnny Quest, I think.
yep,
Johnny Quest will come on, and you see Batman animated series. It's still like one of the highest rated. It might be the highest rated animated series for Batman because they did so many, but that one was so successful.
yeah, and I think that's why I mean, I love Heath Ledger. Don't get me wrong, Heath Ledger is my number one, but I loved Leto in the Suicide Squad as the Joker. I just thought, and now that you make that connection for me, I never even thought of it that way. I was like, man, that's right. Yeah, like that's the reason why I'm drawn to him. All right, so we're gonna ask. I got two more for you, and we'll wrap it up for you. Fresh. I'll ask one here, and I'll turn it back over to Fresh here. So you're given you said you're a big basketball guy. I'm going to give you a scenario here.
Okay.
You're given an opportunity to be the lead writer for the My Player series in NBA 2K. So you get to write the whole story mode of NBA 2K, or you get to write the whole story mode for Batman for the next Batman game. You can only do one though. They both are coming out at the same time. Which one you pick?
I think I would take 2K hands down because I think a lot of people play 2K and it's another one of those like areas where people are disgruntled about it, more so gameplay. But I played my career and stuff like that. I'd have a lot of different tweaks to it. So, um, yeah, like that would be probably the one I pick.
Well, I got a quick hitter for you. So when you're playing in Madden and in 2K and in 2014 NCAA, what was the one team in each of those games that you had to play with? Just and you dominated with.
Madden, it was the Giants, especially the days when they had Brandon Jacobs and Shockey and Hakeem Nicks and Mario Manningham and all those guys. I used to just destroy teams running the football,
Right now.
um, running it right. I mean, I used to, and then I would just go play action with Shockey. It was Shockey and I'm trying to think of the backup tight end. Can't remember right now, but I used to just destroy teams with that. 2K, oof. Way back, it used to be the Pistons, especially when they had Ben Wallace on the cover.
And Rip Hamilton, Ben Wallace, and those boys.
Yeah, it was them. But then they soured, obviously. And so I kind of transitioned and I started playing kind of like with everyone. I didn't really have a team so far so much. So, I'm a big Kobe Bryant fan, so I used to play with the Lakers like all the time. And then for college football, it was Michigan State. A lot of my family is,
Well, right, that kind of
Michigan State. Half is Michigan State, the other half is Michigan. Like it's split down the middle basically. But that's the team that I used to play with a lot was Michigan State.
So before we wrap up here, I'll ask this. There's all of us NCAA football fans, and I know we talked like you don't want to give away any like key details, but like what are we looking forward to? Like tell us like Seth, you're telling me this is why you're going to buy the game. Like you can look forward to blank. Like what can I look forward to that's coming down the pipe?
you're gonna feel like you're playing college football.
Ooh, I love that. That is a really. I'm done. Let's just. We need to end it there because that's like the perfect answer.
I mean, that's like, I guarantee you're gonna feel like you're playing college football. Guarantee. There's no question about it.
Listen, like I'm about ready to go run through a wall. Like after you said
And
that.
everyone, and it's gonna be on everyone at the top of everyone's queue. 100%.
That's dude. I can't wait. And again, I can't thank you enough for coming on and joining us. And this has just been absolutely incredible. Anytime you want to come back on, you are always more than welcome to come back on with us.
This was dope.
Yeah, we absolutely love having you, man. Like even if you want to come in some random week and do some picks for some football games with us someday, we'd love to have you
It's coming
back.
around the corner.
We can't wait. And listen, when you're ready to drop the book, come on back on and let's talk your book, man.
Yeah, we're not just college football
Sure.
dudes. We are. We love sci-fi fantasy. We love Marvel Universe, DC, a bunch of nerds too. So we're ready to get after it and live it up. It's awesome.
I like that. That's what's up.
So thank you again, man. And this has just been truly like an absolute honor.
It was great. This is fun.
Thank you.
This is a lot of
Appreciate it, man. And good luck with everything you got going on. Keep working hard at everything you got. And again, don't forget that 1 year anniversary.
I won't. Trust me. It's at the top of my my mind.
All right, folks. So you've been listening to another episode of the Irrational Confidence Podcast. We're part of Spinnable Sports, so make sure you're going to spinnablesports.com. Yes, that is spinnablesports.com. All sorts of sports that you can get out there, whether it is college football, NFL season is right around the corner. Like, subscribe wherever you watch or get your podcast from, whether that's Apple, Spotify, Amazon Pods, Good Pods, any type of pods. I don't know all the places you can get them. Or you're liking us and watching us on the YouTube because, at least we had Chris on here today. It made Fresh and I look a whole lot better than us.
Definitely.
So like and subscribe wherever you watch us and make sure you're interacting with us on Twitter. We love it. It is football season. This has been absolutely phenomenal. And we will see you guys really, really soon.
Bye, y'all.